Biggest health myth of modern times is that breakfast cereals are a healthy start to the day. The bright boxes, cartoon mascots, phrases like whole grain goodness or part of a balanced breakfast have been drilled into our minds for decades. But behind those comforting slogans lies a silent deception that has shaped generations of unhealthy habits. The truth is, most cereals are nothing more than processed sugar cleverly disguised as nutrition. It's not just the sweetness that's the problem, it's the entire illusion built around it. Cereal companies understood something powerful early on, that people crave convenience more than truth. They knew that in a busy world, the promise of health in a box would always outsell the quiet truth that real nourishment takes time. Typical cereal box is a masterclass in psychological manipulation. On the front, find phrases like fortified with vitamins or made with whole grains, and on the back, a list of ingredients that would make a chemist pause. The grains used are stripped of their natural fiber and nutrients, processed with heat and chemicals, then coated with sugar, syrups, and artificial flavoring to make them palatable again. To compensate for the lost nutrition, synthetic vitamins are added back in, creating the illusion of balance. It's like painting over decay. The surface looks perfect, but inside there's nothing alive. When you pour that glossy mix into your bowl and add milk, you're not fueling your body, you're tricking it. The sugar rush gives you a quick jolt of energy, a temporary illusion of alertness. But within an hour or two, the crash comes. Your blood sugar drops, your body releases stress hormones, and your brain starts craving another hit of sweetness or caffeine. You think you're hungry again, but what's really happening is that your body is trying to recover from imbalance. Over time, this morning ritual of spikes and crashes becomes normal, and fatigue becomes part of your identity. Most people don't realize that this pattern rewires the brain. Sugar doesn't just affect your body. It affects your psychology. It taps into the same reward pathways as addictive substances, creating a loop of craving and temporary satisfaction. This is not accidental. Cereal companies employ food scientists who study how to make their products blissful, a perfect ratio of sweetness, crunch, and aroma designed to light up your dopamine system. You're not choosing your breakfast. Your brain chemistry is being chosen for you. The tragedy is that all of this is sold under the banner of health. Parents pour cereal for their children believing they're giving them energy and nutrition before school, unaware that they're setting the stage for poor metabolic health, mood swings, and sugar dependency. The early morning energy high turns into mid-morning brain fog. Balanced breakfast, advertised on television, becomes a daily routine of imbalance and inflammation. Yet, because the box says whole grain, we don't question it. The illusion is powerful enough to override reality. If you look at the numbers, it's staggering. Many popular cereals contain between 10 and 20 grams of sugar per serving, but that's based on a serving size no one actually eats. In real life, people pour double, sometimes triple that amount. That means starting the day with 30 to 40 grams of sugar, more than what the World Health Organization recommends for an entire day. Because the grains are refined, your body processes them almost as fast as pure sugar. You end up with a bloodstream flooded with glucose before you've even left the house. This constant exposure to sugar and artificial additives doesn't just affect weight, it disrupts hormones, damages gut bacteria, and trains the body to rely on fast energy sources instead of burning fat efficiently. Over years, it can lead to insulin resistance, chronic fatigue, increased inflammation, the silent roots of most modern diseases, and all this begins not with a candy bar or soda, but with something sold as healthy on your breakfast table. Cereal companies have built an empire on this illusion. They've turned processed corn and wheat into billion-dollar brands by convincing people that fast equals smart and sweet equals safe. They know the comfort of routine, the nostalgia of childhood, the warm feeling of a familiar breakfast. They've turned all of that into a business model. The real cost, however, is not measured in dollars, it's measured in the quiet erosion of health, focus, and natural energy that disappears one spoonful at a time. Your morning cereal is not just about calories, it's about chemistry. Every bite you take triggers a series of chemical reactions in your body that determine how you feel, how you think, and even how you age. The brightly colored flakes and loops that look so harmless are actually the result of industrial food engineering, where ingredients are chosen not for their nourishment, but for how well they manipulate your biology. What we call breakfast is often a formula designed to stimulate addiction, not health. Behind every box, there's a calculated balance of sugar, salt, and artificial flavor meant to keep you hooked long enough to buy another one. When you start your day with these cereals, your body is flooded with refined carbohydrates that rapidly convert to glucose in the bloodstream. That sudden surge of sugar forces your pancreas to release insulin, the hormone that helps move glucose into your cells. But when this happens repeatedly, day after day, your cells begin to resist insulin's signal, forcing your body to produce more and more of it just to cope. Over time, this process lays the foundation for insulin resistance, fatigue, weight gain, metabolic diseases. It's not that one bowl of cereal is dangerous, it's that decades of these breakfasts silently reshape how your body handles energy. The chemicals don't stop at sugar. Artificial colors like red 40, yellow 5, and blue 1 found in many popular cereals are known to disrupt neurological function and behavior in children. Preservatives like BHT are used to extend shelf life, but they also interfere with hormones and can accumulate in fat tissue. Flavor enhancers mimic the natural sweetness and aroma of real food, but create confusion in your brain's reward system. They make your body expect nutrients that never arrive, leaving you craving more food to fill that unmet promise. It's a subtle trick that keeps you reaching for another bowl without realizing why. The gut microbiome, the ecosystem of bacteria that governs digestion, immunity, mood, is one of the biggest victims of this chemical invasion. Refined sugars feed harmful bacteria and yeast while starving the beneficial microbes that protect your gut lining and regulate inflammation. Over time, this imbalance leads to bloating, poor digestion, mood swings, and even anxiety. What you feel as hunger or low energy is often your gut begging for balance, not another dose of sugar. Every spoonful of cereal becomes a message to your microbiome, shaping the environment that influences everything from your cravings to your mental health. Food scientists know exactly how to manipulate these reactions. They study what's called the bliss point, the precise combination of sugar, salt, and fat that creates the strongest dopamine response in the brain. That rush of pleasure makes you associate breakfast with comfort and reward, which is why cereal can feel emotionally satisfying, even when it's nutritionally empty. You're not weak for wanting it. You're responding exactly how the food was designed to make you respond. It's a science of dependency dressed up as a morning ritual. The worst part is how deeply this conditioning is linked to identity. People grow up eating certain cereals and associate them with childhood, safety, or family. Those emotional bonds make it even harder to see the harm hidden in the habit. You don't just crave the taste, you crave the memory it represents. The brands know this, which is why they keep their mascots, jingles, and slogans alive for generations. They sell nostalgia as much as they sell food. The packaging isn't designed for your body, it's designed for your mind. When you examine what's really inside those boxes, it becomes clear that most cereals have more in common with processed candy than with whole food. The term fortified doesn't mean healthy. It means the nutrients were stripped away during processing and then synthetically added back in, often in forms your body can't easily absorb. It's like removing the walls of a house and taping paper cutouts where they used to be. The structure might look complete, but it has no strength left. Meanwhile, your blood sugar continues to swing up and down, dragging your energy and focus with it. By mid-morning, your brain feels foggy, your stomach growls again, and you reach for another snack, unknowingly keeping the same metabolic cycle alive. It's a loop that drains your vitality and trains your body to depend on quick fixes instead of real fuel. The chemistry of your morning determines the chemistry of your day. And when that chemistry is built on processed sugars, artificial colors, and preservatives, it becomes impossible to feel balanced no matter how much you eat or sleep. Marketing has turned the breakfast aisle into a psychological trap where health is an illusion sold in bright colors and comforting words. Every inch of a cereal box is designed to influence your emotions before you even read the ingredients. Words like whole grain, low fat, heart healthy, and fortified with vitamins trigger instant trust. They play on our desire to feel responsible and in control, especially in a world where time is scarce and choices are endless. But these phrases rarely mean what they suggest. Whole grain often means a small percentage of processed grain dust mixed with refined flour. Low fat usually means high sugar. Fortified is a marketing trick, a way of disguising the fact that real nutrients were destroyed during processing and replaced with cheap synthetic ones. It's not nutrition, it's decoration. The genius of cereal marketing is that it doesn't sell food, it sells belief. It taps into your values, your memories, and your guilt. It tells you that pouring a quick bowl for your child before school makes you a caring parent, that eating light cereal for breakfast proves your discipline, that starting your day with grains instead of eggs or meat makes you modern and health conscious. The narrative is emotional, not logical, because emotion sells better than truth. They know most people won't flip the box over to read the ingredients. Even if they do, the complex list of chemicals and additives feels too overwhelming to interpret. So you trust the words on the front, because they sound scientific, moral, and safe. This illusion is strengthened by the culture of convenience. People are tired, busy, and distracted. No one wants to cook in the morning or question every product they buy. The cereal industry understands this perfectly. It markets itself as the savior of your morning chaos. Just pour and go. The promise of simplicity is irresistible, and it becomes a habit that feels practical but is actually costly to health. Trade 10 minutes of time for years of energy imbalance, digestive issues, and metabolic stress. Yet because everyone around you does it too, it feels normal. When an entire culture is addicted to convenience, deception doesn't even look like deception anymore. It looks like breakfast. The visuals on cereal boxes are a study in manipulation. Bright colors stimulate appetite and energy. Images of wheat, milk, fresh fruit imply purity and freshness even when none of it exists inside the box. Smiling characters make children associate cereal with happiness, safety, reward. When kids grow up seeing these mascots, they form emotional connections to the brand that last into adulthood. The cereal you choose becomes part of your identity, not because of its nutrition, but because of how it made you feel when you were young. This emotional conditioning is what keeps people loyal to brands even after learning the truth about their ingredients. The industry doesn't just rely on packaging, it relies on authority. Words like "doctor recommended" or "proved by nutritionists" appear on boxes to create the illusion of scientific backing. But these claims are often based on company-funded studies or meaningless criteria. It's the same tactic used in the cigarette industry decades ago. Borrow the language of health to sell something that damages it. The difference is that cereal hides behind the mask of childhood innocence. Nobody questions a smiling cartoon holding a spoon. Then comes the label trickery. The ingredient list might not even say sugar outright. It appears under multiple names: cane syrup, maltose, fructose, dextrose, molasses, brown rice syrup, all forms of sugar disguised as variety. This is intentional. By splitting sugar into several names, it gets pushed down the list, making it appear less dominant. It's a game of perception. The same goes for serving sizes. The nutrition facts are based on unrealistically small portions to make the numbers look less alarming. When you pour a real bowl, you're often eating 2 or 3 times the listed amount of sugar, sodium, and calories. Cereal marketing thrives because it doesn't need to prove it's healthy. It just needs to look healthier than the alternatives. Compared to donuts or fast food, a bowl of cereal feels virtuous. That's the trap. The contrast between bad and better makes you settle for mediocrity. And that's where the industry wins. You feel proud of making a healthy choice, unaware that the difference is mostly cosmetic. The illusion is complete when the packaging makes you feel guilt-free while the ingredients continue to harm you slowly over time. The entire system is designed to keep you buying, not thriving. The language of health becomes a marketing weapon. The simplicity of breakfast becomes a battlefield of psychology. What looks like care is often control. What looks like nourishment is manipulation. Unless you learn to see past the slogans, the colors, and the comfort, you stay trapped in a loop, believing you're eating smart while feeding a system that profits from your confusion. Real health begins when you stop outsourcing your nutrition to corporations and start reclaiming the simple relationship between food and energy. The moment you stop letting advertisements decide what your body needs, you begin to experience the difference between being full and being nourished. The cereal aisle may offer 1,000 choices, but none of them are made with your well-being in mind. They're designed for profit, shelf life, and addiction. True vitality doesn't come from convenience, it comes from consciousness. When you choose real food, you are not just changing what's on your plate. You are changing how your body communicates with itself, how your brain functions, and how your emotions stabilize throughout the day. The body doesn't thrive on sugar-coated flakes, it thrives on balance. Whole, living foods like sprouted grains, nuts, seeds, and natural fibers work with your biology, not against it. They release energy slowly, allowing your blood sugar to remain stable instead of surging and crashing. They feed your gut microbiome, the invisible ecosystem that controls everything from immunity to mood regulation. When your gut is nourished, your mind becomes clearer, your energy more consistent, your cravings lose their grip. The opposite happens with processed cereals that spike blood sugar and deplete nutrients. They hijack your brain chemistry, making you feel hungry, foggy, and irritable even after eating. The shift from processed to real food is more than a diet change. It's a shift in awareness. You start noticing how foods make you feel instead of how they make you look. You begin to understand that fatigue isn't normal, that afternoon crashes aren't inevitable, and that clarity and calm are natural states when your body is in alignment. Most people have lived for so long under the constant stimulation of sugar and artificial flavors that they've forgotten what true energy feels like. It's not the jittery rush that fades an hour later. It's a steady hum of vitality that allows you to think deeply, move freely, and remain calm under stress. Corporations have conditioned people to seek shortcuts: low-fat, fortified, quick, instant, ready to eat. But nature doesn't work in shortcuts, it works in system. Real food doesn't need to be labeled healthy. Its health is self-evident. An apple doesn't come with an ingredient list. Sprouted oats don't need artificial flavoring. The closer your food is to its natural form, the less confusion your body experiences when digesting it. Every additive, preservative, and chemical sweetener is another layer of interference between your body and its natural intelligence. Once you start removing them, the difference is almost immediate. Sleep deepens, focus sharpens, inflammation drops, and your mood stabilizes. Even your relationship with hunger begins to change. When you eat processed cereal, you're not truly hungry, you're chasing balance that sugar temporarily disturbs. When you eat real food, hunger becomes gentle and rhythmic, not desperate. Your body signals clearly when it needs fuel and when it's satisfied. That is the biology of peace, something the modern food industry doesn't want you to experience because balance doesn't create profit. Addiction does. When you are centered and nourished, become immune to manipulation. You stop reaching for what's easy and start choosing what's right. Path to real health also restores something deeper: self-trust. You stop believing every new trend or miracle label and start listening to your own body's feedback. If something makes you feel bloated, fatigued, or foggy, it's a sign of imbalance, not normal aging or stress. Your body speaks in sensations long before it shows symptoms. Real food helps you hear those messages again, teaches you to slow down, to pay attention, to care for yourself beyond calories and macros. You begin to see food not as numbers, but as energy and information that shape every cell of your being. And when that awareness deepens, something shifts mentally. You realize that eating well isn't about restriction, it's about freedom. Freedom from cravings, from guilt, from the fog that comes from living on autopilot. You begin to move through the day with more clarity because you're no longer powered by stimulants and crashes. You start to feel at home in your body again. This is the quiet strength that real food gives. The kind that doesn't shout or demand attention, but sustains you through every challenge. Once you experience that level of clarity, going back to boxes and slogans feels impossible. Because you've seen what health really is: not a product, not a brand, but a state of inner harmony that no corporation can sell. The future of breakfast is awareness. Begins when you start seeing through the illusion that convenience equals health and realize that every bite you take carries a story, a motive, and a consequence. Once you recognize how the system has been built to shape your habits rather than your well-being, you begin to reclaim the power you unconsciously gave away. The colorful packaging, the nostalgic jingles, the comforting mascots. All of it was designed to bypass your critical thinking and appeal to emotion, made you trust a product before you even questioned what was inside. Awareness is the light that cuts through that conditioning. It is the point where you stop being a consumer of marketing and start becoming a chooser of nourishment. This awakening isn't about fear. It's about seeing the truth clearly. When you walk down the cereal aisle now, you notice the manipulation hidden in plain sight. You recognize that words like whole grain, low sugar, or fortified are not signs of care but tools of persuasion. You see that the same companies selling you healthy cereals also own brands of soda and candy. You understand that their priority isn't your energy, your focus, or your longevity, it's profit. Awareness breaks the spell by reminding you that every decision you make at the breakfast table is a vote for the kind of food system you want to support. When you choose real unprocessed food, you stop feeding the machine that profits from confusion and disease. But awareness is uncomfortable at first. It forces you to confront habits that have defined your mornings for years. You might realize how much of your day depends on quick fixes and false energy, how often you reach for sugar or caffeine just to feel normal. Awareness brings responsibility, but it also brings freedom. Because once you see the manipulation loses its power, you start to make choices based on truth, not nostalgia. You stop craving the artificial highs that always leave you empty and start craving balance, focus, and genuine vitality instead. This shift is not about perfection, it's about consciousness. You can still enjoy comfort foods, but now you do it with awareness rather than autopilot. You read labels, you question claims, you pay attention to how food makes you feel. You begin to realize that real health is not built overnight, it's built meal by meal, choice by choice. You notice how your body responds when you replace sugary cereals with fiber-rich, protein-based breakfasts. The mental fog lifts. The mid-morning hunger fades. You feel a grounded energy that lasts longer than any sugar rush ever could. It's not glamorous or instant, but it's real. And real always wins with time. Awareness also changes your relationship with food emotionally. You stop eating to escape fatigue or boredom because you're no longer trapped in the cycle of spikes and crashes. You start eating to nourish, not to numb. You stop punishing yourself for craving sweetness and instead understand where those cravings come from. Years of conditioning and imbalance. With time, taste buds reset, and you start appreciating the subtle sweetness of real fruit or the warmth of whole grains. Your body begins to trust you again. In that trust, healing happens. This kind of transformation is contagious. When you start making mindful choices, the people around you notice. Your children, your friends, your family, they watch how your energy shifts, how your focus sharpens, how your mood stabilizes. Awareness spreads quietly, not through lectures but through example. You become proof that eating consciously is not about deprivation but liberation. You remind others that they too can break the cycle of dependency created by the modern food industry. And in doing so, participate in a silent revolution, one breakfast at a time. The future of breakfast doesn't belong to the corporations that built their empires on sugar and slogans. It belongs to individuals who wake up, not just from sleep, but from illusion. It belongs to those who take back their mornings and redefine what it means to eat with purpose. Every small act of awareness becomes a statement against manipulation and a step toward balance. The more people awaken to this truth, the weaker the old system becomes. Awareness is the quiet rebellion that transforms health from a marketing claim into a lived reality. Because once you see the game, no longer play it, you change it.